Hello, everyone. So I have a draft profile this time around, Andre Dillard. So he measured in at 6'5", 315 pounds at the combine, and I would like some feedback at the end of this, if this is how you guys would like this structured. I pretty much have my pros and cons, and then I go over how this is, but we'll go over pros first. He's a very quick mover. He has very active feet. He has excellent recovery quickness for when he does get beat, and he carries his weight well, and he can really, really kind of use those hips. Sometimes, like you will occasionally see these moments where his hips kind of get uncoiled a bit, where you would like to see him, and he can really generate power, but those reps are kind of few and far between. Um, he does have a great explosiveness out of his stance when um, on running assignments. He does take great angles to the second level, and he can get his hips and feet situated in order to open up those rushing lanes at the second, third level that you would like to see when it comes to this zone running scheme that Minnesota does have. So that would be kind of nice. And he has enough agility for all of the zone responsibilities. Like he is a very athletic guy and he's a very athletic tackle, but his lack of power could be a potential issue at times, although I don't think it's necessarily like in a zone scheme it shouldn't be a make or break on him, the fact that it doesn't appear all the time. Um and he's a proactive in pass protection with his hands, especially when dealing with the stunts and the twists that happen. He's very aware of what he's doing, how to use his hands in that kind of situation, and his feet. He's very quick with it. He's athletic enough, and he can process it at a good rate. So that's not bad. And when his hands are in the right spot, you can get really impressed by his grip strength, which is good. That's good because he'll pretty much just hold on to the guy, and then you don't have the pressure coming in. You don't have a sack. You have all the good stuff. You have clean pockets, and he's able to sustain reps with his grip and active footwork and his constant resetting of his angles as the pass rush does develop throughout the entire play and the rep, however you want to word that. He's very good at all of that. Now his cons, he lacks power and anchor, and that's pretty evident, and it's pretty bad sometimes. So although he has all of those good qualities in pass protection, you sometimes see the things that we see with Brian O'Neill in pass protection, where it's like if he's dealing with a more finesse guy, it's like, yeah, he looks good, but the second he's on a power rusher, he might get pushed into the quarterback's lap a little bit, and then you start to see some issues come along there, and it's really not the best. And he seems to always want to keep the edge at the length, just as arm's length, essentially. And he just locks out his elbows, and it's not good because you start seeing screening with quicker feet, and instead of just engaging his upper body, it doesn't. In order to actually direct the pass rush, you start to see just no. It's just him getting once again into the middle with the power and the anchor. You can't play it like that when you don't have an anchor. He does not, so it becomes a problem. And hand location does need to improve a ton because it is wildly inconsistent. Like I said, when it is in the right place, it looks really, really good. But for the most part, it's really, really inconsistent, and it needs to get a ton better. And often he'll just be a little wide and he'll be catching instead of punching. And I think with NFL coaching, that should change a little bit. That's one of those things that you really can change. And he does have a tendency to kind of just pop and screen and pass protection instead of using length, grip, and control. He's kind of just, he's not really grabbing people all the time. And that's, even though some people will say, well, that's holding. Well, holding does happen every single play for the most part. It's just a matter of how good you are getting away with it sometimes. And he doesn't really try to get away with enough of them. So it ends up looking pretty bad sometimes. Um, Dillard's hand technique and lack of play strength is a major concern at times, and it makes him really susceptible to just power guys, which is like just those bull rushes, and they'll regularly just walk him back. It's not good at all when that happens. And it will also make him very susceptible to the push-pull because of that technique they use at Washington State is kind of more vertical set. He's more straight up and down, which can limit a lot of things, which is actually part of what could be the issue with Andre Dillard with all of these problems that he does seem to have, because that will often, limit his actual explosiveness coming out of the stance, how much depth he can get on his pass sets, and he's going to basically have to open doors for pass rushers just to be able to try to beat him with his speed and his athleticism, which he has proven he can do. So it's he's an interesting case here, and he does have a tendency to lean, which will also lead to kind of just widening his base when it doesn't need to be happening. And any kind of stutter steps or like fake moves to that, he can be a little susceptible to those as well. And I think a lot of this could be technique driven, and you could see him be a better pro than he was a college player, just because you start to get more NFL level coaching and you kind of get that stuff buffed out of you a little bit. And especially with that technique that they use at Washington State is pretty much that's non-existent in the NFL. I think you could see a few of these problems go away, but I think he could pretty much just be the left side version of Brian O'Neill. So anyone who likes O'Neill is going to like Dillard. Anyone who hates O'Neill is going to hate Dillard. They're pretty close to the same kind of player. And I don't think it would be a bad pickup if they were to draft him at 18, or I don't know if they would be willing to trade up for him. But he does project more as a pass blocker due to his lack of power. And as I've said in two of my other videos now, they do seem to be looking more at these more athletic pass protector guys as opposed to the run blocking guys that we kind of that I thought they might be looking at more, just because I always assumed this would be a run first team with Zimmer, but so far they've looked at nothing and added nothing to the line that wasn't mainly a pass blocker. And Dillard he may not be the most profound pass blocker in this class, but he is an athletic guy who projects well as a pass blocker if you get the right coaching in him. And I think you could see just that whole Dennison / Kubiak offense thing. They've worked together a ton with this, and they could see, like, since they're more experienced than some of the other guys that we've had, like, and they've worked together before, they might trust them with a guy like this. And I don't think it would be a bad deal, because then you start to think about it. If you have basically two guys who can do what O'Neill does on both ends, you rarely have a tackle that can really pull out of the tackle position. And then we all of a sudden have two of them. We have a really athletic line that can just start doing those screens left and right if you need to. That could also really help slow down pass rushes as well. And even if they aren't the best pass blockers all the time, they could, well, I mean, in this case, it's more of a developmental kind of thing. But even if they do have some lapses in pass blocking, you could use those screens to tone it down. You can probably do more with this, and especially with how Kubiak likes to do those, all those rollouts. He does like outside zones and playing the rollouts out of that. So I think Dillard fits right into the scheme fit, but I do think he's a little bit more of a projection than some people think he is. And I would like to know what you guys think down in the comments below about this guy, if you want me to continue it in this kind of fashion, or if you want me to sort it out a little better. Let me know. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.